Welcome back
Hello, friends.
to our vlog.
Vlog 2.0. This week, we're going to talk about theme. The theme for this week, well, first of all, we had several.
Multiple themes, I would
The
say.
first theme is children taking a stand,
Taking action.
and letting their voices be heard. So, Emery, what are our books this week?
Our first book is Amal, Unbound, a novel by Aisha Saeed.
Watch her butcher that one again.
Yikes.
Just kidding.
Our second book is fun because it is 2 books. And it is Malala, a brave girl from Pakistan, and Iqbal, a brave boy from Pakistan. So, lots of Pakistan people this week, which is super fun. So let's get into it.
Hello. Before we move on, we would like to point out some key connections between both of these
Connections.
books. The first would be the main character in this book, Amal, and the main character in this part of the book, Malala, are both denied their right to an education. First of all, rude.
So rude.
Second of all,
How dare.
illegal. Okay? Illegal. They deserve
Not a good
a right
thing.
to their education.
And they know that. The characters know that,
know.
right?
And the next connection that we have between the books is Amal and Iqbal are both forced into like child labor, servitude, also known as slavery, because it was involuntary. They didn't want to do it.
Taken.
They were made
Chained
to
to
do
the chair.
it. Yeah. And you know what? That's not good either, friends.
Shame on.
So knowing this about the characters, we're able to understand these characters' worlds just a little bit clearer. Like with my sunglasses.
A little bit clearer. Okay, book number 1, Amal Unbound. So a quick little intro for this book. It's about a girl who is going to school in Pakistan and lives in a small village owned by they call them landlords, but everybody in that community is kind of in debt to them, I think. And they have to pay like a rent, but the girl is going to school and then does something.
Her world comes to a halt.
Yeah, her world comes to a halt. Does something not super nice to the landlord, and I'm not gonna give it away, but we might as well since we're gonna be talking about all of the book. She's mean to him, and he takes her as his servant,
Like a
slave.
Mm-hmm.
And she lives in the house until she can repay the debt that her family owes, but jokes on her and everybody else in the community because the debt can never be repaid because they charge you for being a servant, which was crazy to me. I'm going off on a tangent, but that was crazy. So yeah, this is just a book about her being her own hero and taking
A stand for what she thinks was right. Let's also talk about really quick how brave she was when she stood up to the man in the suit on the side of the road, and she took that pomegranate home, and she was so proud to have that pomegranate.
Even though I don't think she ever ate it because she was taken as a slave.
Well,
But
you win some, you lose some.
And that's the tea.
That's the tea on that one. Welcome back. We're going to ask some questions.
About Amal Unbound.
Because as teachers, we need to ask problem-posing questions. Problem-posing question number 1. Emery.
McKenna.
Who do you think the hero is, / who has the most power in this book?
Okay, so the hero is clearly Amal. Like, she is standing up for what she believes in with education and, basic human rights.
Yes.
And is standing up for everything that she needs to stand up for in her family and all of the other servants that are there. People are looking at us in our car.
We look like we're talking to ourselves.
It's okay. And then, so I think that it's pretty clear who the hero is. Who has the most power in the book could be one of two things, because if you think about it, Amal has the most power because she's the one standing up, but
there were also other people that kind of
The
took
land-
advantage of their power.
the landlord probably, I mean, monetarily had the most power.
Right.
But did he have the most power in the end? No, because he went to jail. But
Spoiler alert.
spoiler.
She spoiled
Sorry.
it. Hope you finished reading it.
Whoops. Okay, next question. McKenna.
What voice is not heard in this book?
The voices that are not heard. I mean, there are no voices heard about the oppressors. Not that we really need to hear from them anyways, because they are not nice.
Mean.
But we also, somebody I would have liked to hear a voice from would have been Amal's parents.
Mm-hmm.
Just because
We
her
don't
mom,
hear very much from them.
we don't hear very much from them. Her mom kind of goes into like a, what's it called?
Like
postpartum
depression.
And we
almost.
were talking about it like, is it because they're girls? Is it because she feels guilty because she's not having a boy? Or is it just...
Is it really like a mental illness?
Like, is it really just postpartum
Yeah.
depression like people normally get?
Yeah.
Or is it something else with their whole culture thing?
We want to know more.
I have questions.
Do you have questions? The hair looks
And then
weird.
the other voice would be the dad, because he seems to care more throughout the story, but they also treat her like she's not a part of the family in the middle there when she visits home.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to hear voices from both of them. Probably not the landlord. I don't care about his opinion because it's wrong. But he probably had his reasons. His reasons. Okay. Last question for this book. How
Answer this one.
are the needs of people with less wealth treated? Can I?
In one word, bad. So basically, I mean, they're just treated like they're like peasants. Like they don't matter. Like they're not allowed to eat in the same room, or they're literally living in like shambles. They're not treated well at all. So the needs of these people are not met at all.
They're not met.
And the children are being taken away their rights to education. That's one thing.
Yeah. And they have to eat off of like, there's literally different plates for them to eat off
Kind of
of.
like a hierarchy.
Yeah, for sure.
Hierarchy. I don't know
For
if
sure.
I'm
And
saying that word right.
the landlords act like they're giving those people needs and treating them well by like letting them take vacation days. And like some of them choose to live there and get paid. But it's just all a big scheme.
Yeah. So pretty much they're treated like
Not good.
not good.
Like, oh, Amal says that she feels like cattle at like where they sell cattle. I forget the name of it. At like a show. Cattle show.
At an auction?
Yes. That's the word. Ding ding ding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's that perspective.
Kind of
What they
like
really
how
feel
in
like.
Separate is Never Equal, all the Hispanic children were made to be like animals. They were dogs.
So that's a reoccurring theme right there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What are we going to do with that tea, sis?
Book number 2.
So this was Malala, a brave girl from Pakistan, and Iqbal, a brave boy from Pakistan. So this book was really interesting because we're able to get two perspectives, one from a female and one from a male, both growing up and living in Pakistan, where there was obviously several examples of internal conflict going on in the country. So for Malala's case, girls were not allowed to go to school. She did not think that she should be taken away the right to her education. So she continues to go to school, which results in a conflict for her. She was actually shot in the head.
Let's say that's a pretty big conflict
Pretty
we
big
have there.
consequence there for her actions. And then Iqbal was put into servitude or slavery, and whenever he became free, went around and told everyone else, you're free, you're a child, you don't have to work anymore, which also caused him it did cause him a life-threatening. He lost his life. is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
So this book is about the two of them and how their voices were heard in each of their childhood experiences. So
we'll get into it. Welcome back. So,
question time.
Some more problem-posing questions for this book. We're going to do them kind of combined, like not separate for Malala and not separate for Iqbal. Just do them together because it's one book. So, why do you think the author wrote this book, these stories?
So I think that Winter decided to write these books because obviously there was some stories to tell. And I think a lot of times teachers and authors have a hard time expressing how to teach social justice and social awareness to their students. And so I think this is a great way to kind of get that message out there, that there are voices to be heard from children, and that you don't have to necessarily plan these big elaborate social justice lessons that are just gonna, confuse your kids. You can literally read them a simple story, or two stories actually, that help them to understand like what these injustices are, and to help them determine what is right about this story and what is wrong about this story. And that's a way you can teach that to your kids without blatantly saying, oh, these people are racist and these people did this, and
it kind of lets them figure it out for themselves.
It's a less harsh way, even though like what happens to these people is totally
bad.
Yeah, but I think it is a better way to kind of break that ice to your students. And if you pulled up CNN and was like, hey, look what's going on in the world right now, this is a better way to teach your kids about those problems.
And like when Iqbal died, it didn't show him dying.
Right.
It showed was it a balloon, a kite that had flown away and like symbolized. So there's some symbolism too, because it's still a kid's story, which is good.
Yeah, which gives them things to think about.
Yep.
So. All right, Emery.
Yes.
Other than Malala changing her clothes and continuing to go to school, what other ways does the author show or have that the characters show determination?
So, other than her, she wears her clothes. It's okay. I'll find it. Other than her, she wears her clothes, like her normal clothes, I guess. I guess they have uniforms for school. And then she keeps going to school. And then after that, after everything happens, after she gets shot, she still has determination and spreads awareness about her story and what's going on. And you said that she got the Nobel Peace Prize.
She did. She won the Nobel Peace Prize, which is, one of the most prestigious awards that anybody
So that's some determination, I would say.
Yeah, and I think it just shows that, even after something bad happened to her, it wasn't this pity party, oh, I've been shot because of who I am and what I've done. There's no point. She kind of used that as a leg to stand on, and she's like, this is how far I've come, and I'm going to continue to go further and reach more children.
Right. And for Iqbal, I was just going to say, so this is a good spread. Let me move my Post-it note. About how he's just showing his determination because, he's 10 years old. I don't know what I was doing when I was 10, but it was not this. So it stinks that he had to do that, but I think that just shows how determined he was for his voice to be heard and his story to be heard. And he says that he would like to do what Abraham Lincoln did, which I thought was a good connection that most of your class would probably know about and know how big of a deal that would be. So
a lot of it is relevance, making this relevant to your students. So in the article that we read for this week, or the chapter that we read, talked about ways you could implement things to make it relevant to your students. So one thing it talked about was showing historical pictures that give them a background knowledge, what you're reading about, so it can help them make connections, and it can also help them understand more about the text and what's going on in the text. So
that's always important. So they're engaged.
Yeah.
Last question, McKenna.
Yes.
What stereotypes does this author push against in the book?
Well, the first would be that well, obviously, and for both books, this goes that they think that children don't have a voice and that children can't take a stand, which is totally false. That's a stereotype.
Wrong.
Because children do have a voice, and their voices do matter, and there are children all over the world that are making huge impacts and strides.
Especially right now with all of the UN stuff with that girl.
If you haven't read
What's her
about
name?
Greta,
Gretchen?
Greta. If
Greta.
you haven't read about Greta,
Oh, Greta.
you should read about Greta. She is a perfect example of a child that is taking a stand to make this world a better place. And I think as teachers, we need to give our students resources to help them know how they can take a stand and how they can get engaged in things going on in their world. And so if you haven't had the chance, you should check out those resources that Dr. Frye gave us.
Oh yeah, they're good ones.
They have lots of ways for students to learn about their world. But yeah, so other than that, obviously there was a stereotype that like education's not important for women, which is not true.
That's
So
big.
here we are, 2 graduate level students right here.
Women.
And guess what? We're girls.
Spoiler alert!
Spoiler alert! Here we are getting our education. So yeah, I don't know, other stereotypes. I think that pretty much hits the nail on the head.
Yeah, that's the big one in that book.
Mm-hmm.
The education and children's voices. So
Yeah.
glad to do another vlog.
That's all for this week, friends. I know you're so sad it's coming to an end.
So sad.
Guess what? We'll be back next week with vlog 3.0. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.